What's going on, everybody? Thank you for checking out the channel. In today's video, we're looking at the best settings that you want to use for your PC so you can have the best experience in Warzone. So what I wanted to do today is share with you guys the best settings in Warzone so that you can have the most optimized system so that you can get the best performance out of your PC. Now, a fellow viewer, Anime Arrow, I was actually playing with him and he was struggling with his PC's performance. Now, earlier this year, he did upgrade to a PC from a console, so it was his first actual gaming rig. And while he didn't go out and buy the most extreme hardware that was out there, he did buy something that was middle tier to low tier because it's simply what he could afford, which is not a problem at all. But the issue lies is the amount of system resources that Warzone uses in the game by default. You can't just open up the game and expect to turn it on and expect to perform well. There are other variables at play. And so what I wanted to do is share my PC configuration with you and share the optimizations that we did on his PC so that you guys can benefit from those performance gains as well. So let's check it out. So the first thing that you want to do is actually recognize what type of monitor you have. And what you want to do is go into your control panel. So right click on the screen on your desktop and go to your NVIDIA control panel. If you have AMD, then it'll be a similar equivalent. But you want to jump into your control panel and specifically go to the change resolution tab right over here. And from within here, you want to go down, scroll down past all the options and look at your PC category. And under PC category, you want to choose the highest resolution possible. In my case, it's 1920 by 1080 because I have a 1080 monitor. But the big factor here is your refresh rate. Now, in your particular refresh rate is going to depend on the type of monitor that you're using. But what you want to do is set this refresh rate as high as possible so that you can get as many frames as possible. Now, in Arrow's case, it was 85 Hertz. That's what his monitor caps out at. But if he upgraded his monitor to say 144 or 240 Hertz or something faster, you need to go in and make sure that your monitor's refresh rate is actually set to a faster speed. So in my case, it's 165. Go ahead, once you've applied those changes, you can close it out and then jump into Warzone. So once you're loaded into your game, go ahead and open up the Options tab and go to the Graphics tab. Now where we're going to start is your display mode. Make sure that this is set to full screen because that's going to run the full aspect ratio from your monitor, from your previous setup into the game. It's going to focus all your performance on the single window for the game. So always make sure that that's at full screen. Otherwise it's essentially bleeding performance off if you choose it to, if you select anything else. On your screen refresh rate, go ahead and match this to the one that you set on the NVIDIA control panel or the AMD control panel equivalent. Make sure that that's a 1-to-1 ratio. On your render resolution, go ahead and choose the resolution that you set your monitor for. So in my case, my monitor is a 1080 monitor, so it's 1920 by 1080, and I leave the render resolution to 100%. If you go overscaling or underscaling on that, then your GPU is going to have to compensate for the difference of essentially zoom level that you're doing, the amount of pixels that are on the screen. So just keep it at 100% so that it is a 1-to-1 ratio. For your aspect ratio, go ahead and keep that automatic. VSync, unless you're using 240 Hertz or 360 Hertz or something super high refresh rate, go ahead and disable that because it's not going to benefit you at all. For your custom frame rate, I went in and dedicated mine to 120, but that's specific because I'm streaming. So I'm trying to leave enough overhead on my GPU because it's a single PC setup to be able to both stream and game at the same time. It's very taxing on the system to do that. So I cap mine at 120, but for you guys, go ahead and match that to whatever refresh rate you set on your monitor in terms of the performance. NVIDIA highlights, go ahead and disable those. Reflex low latency. If you are not doing anything else, or if you have an extremely high performing PC, whether that's a maxed out 11th gen processor or an AMD 16 core type of processor, you can go ahead and change that to enable plus boost. Otherwise, just leave it to enabled if you have more of a mid to lower system. Display gamma, leave that at 2.2 sRGB. Streaming quality, just have it defaulted to normal. Texture resolutions, this is the actual level of detail on the screen itself. And they give you these horrible images to the right, but basically leave it at normal. If you go higher than that, then all it does is eat away at your actual RAM, and you see the bar jumped up there. If you go to low or very, very low, the game actually looks like complete garbage. So go ahead and leave it at normal. If you have a higher end card like a 3080 or 3090, you can run this at a higher setting, but most people don't have those GPUs, so go ahead and just run it at normal. The anisotropic, leave on low. Particle quality, low. The reason why we have these on low and you don't want them on high settings is because you don't care that when a thermite is being thrown in your face, you're more worried about killing the actual opponent and getting the guy off screen than you are the beautiful, amazing sparkles that are in your face of the thermite that just killed you. So go ahead and turn them down to low and save your GPU the performance. Bullet impacts and sprays, go ahead and disable those for the same as the particle quality. You don't need to see the bullet spray and everything across the map. You're more so worried about going and killing the other team. For tessellation, go ahead and disable those. And on-demand texture streaming, disable that. If you enable on-demand texture streaming, what that's going to do is while you're playing the game, it's going to pull down other files from a server and try to render in the best resolution possible at further targets on buildings and whatnot. You don't care about that. You care about where the enemy is at, getting as many frames as possible so you can go kill them and eliminate them off the map. For your shadow map resolution, I leave this on normal. There can be some tactical advantages where on top of a building you might see somebody and they might have the cast of the shadow landing on the ground, so you want to be able to see that to give you a tactical advantage there, so go ahead and leave that on normal. Anything beyond that, it's just overkill on your GPU. The cache spot shadows and sun shadows, I have these disabled for my configuration. If you have, say, 16 or 32, I mean 16 would be super on the low end, maybe 32 or 64 gigs of RAM. If you have an ample amount of RAM, go ahead and turn those on. It's going to eat into your VRAM, but it's going to preload the rendering of shadows all around the map. It'll look cleaner, and it'll also make it perform a little bit better, but you really need to have advanced sets of RAM in order to do that. And in my case, I'm only got 16 gigs shared, so I have them disabled. Particle lighting is set to low. Ray tracing, absolutely do not turn this on ever. It looks beautiful in the concept renders and in footage that NVIDIA uses, but in real world application, it's absolutely murder to your frame rate. Ambient occlusion is disabled. SSR, screen space reflection, is also disabled. And then on these lower tiers, the filmic strength is set to 0. DLSS is set to disabled. NVIDIA and Warzone did patch DLSS this past season, but go ahead and leave it disabled because there's too much risk in it potentially throwing off the gameplay. Yeah, anti-aliasing is set to off. Depth of field disabled. Motion blur disabled on both the world and the weapon. I cannot tell you the amount of people that have come across both in-game on kill cams and actual clips online of people that are actually operating under motion blur. It's insane. So go ahead and disable those and you'll notice a huge frame rate increase on your game. Film grain set to 0 and dynamic resolution is disabled. Now, the last thing you want to do is jump over to your audio tab because footsteps are crucial, and everybody knows that Warzone's audio sucks. But what we can do is try to improve it as much as possible for you guys. So go into your audio mix and boost low. Choose the boost low option. Master volume, set it to 100. Music volume, put it at 0. The dialogue volume, that's, enemy incoming, that sort of thing, that's set to 15 for me. Now, these will vary a little bit based on your specific audio setting, how much volume you're actually attributing to your headphones, etc. And the effects volume, turn that to 100. This is going to prioritize footsteps and everything that's occurring in the game without blowing out your ears for all the other sound effects that go on in the game. And the last thing you want to do is go down to your voice chat volume and turn this guy, crank it up. Start it at 100, go to 150, go to 250, and see how much your friends can hear you and how much you can hear them. That needs to be prioritized over enemy incoming and airstrike attacks and all the other stuff that happens in the game, because Warzone is not optimized well for the amount of things that are occurring all at one time, so you'll just get overloaded and you can't hear footsteps or your friends. So go ahead and turn up their voice chat volume and then go frag out. So what do you think about the settings that I showed you here in the video? Has it actually helped you? Let me know in the comments below. If you happen to like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, comment below if you're having any kind of problems or if you need help or what your experience has been so far. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I love to have you on board, and then you can get notifications when I upload new videos just like this one. So I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.